Hi, this is an overview of Chapter 1 in Scenes of Writing. Please watch this before you do the reading and then again after you do the reading to make sure you understand some important concepts. So first of all, Scenes of Writing is unlike other ESL textbooks. It teaches genre knowledge. Genre knowledge, first of all, we know what genres are. We've looked at different genres of music to help us understand what a genre is. We know that genres are specific categories or types of something. And since this is a writing class, we will focus on genres of writing. And actually, that's the entire focus of this class, genre knowledge. It's going to teach us how to use our understanding of genres to identify, assess, understand, and write within different scenes or writing situations. Genre knowledge is going to help us in other academic classes by understanding the expectations of that class, as well as in life, because it's going to help us understand the features and expectations of different types of writing and communication. Let's start with this quote. This will help us to understand kind of the premise of this book and this theory, which is called genre theory. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. Everyone plays many parts. This is a quote that Shakespeare wrote in one of his plays, As You Like It, and you can read it again to yourself, but I want to explain what it means. Basically, it's saying that the world is like a stage of a play, and we are the actors. We play different roles throughout our lives in different scenes, in different situations. So our world is like this stage, and we are actors, and we change the way we act, the way we interact, and the way we are, depending on the scene. Okay, so that's kind of some background. Let's just take this metaphor and understand this again. We are all actors, and we play different roles in different scenes in our lives. Each scene of our lives is different, so we have to act differently in each of those scenes. Okay, so now we're going to take that to think about writing. That means if we're looking at scenes of writing, that means that every time we write, we have to understand the scene. What is this writing for? Where is it? Who are you communicating with? What is the purpose? Who is the audience? All of that is part of genre analysis and understanding genres, genre knowledge, basically. So let's now take that and apply it to our textbook. So Chapter 1, Understanding Scenes of Writing. There are really 3 key terms that you need to know. So preview and then come back and review and make sure you understand these. Scene, situation, and genre. A scene. A scene is a place. Think of a scene as a setting. So let me go back here. Okay, so a scene is the overall setting where something happens. It is a place where communication happens. And now I'm going to add these details. A scene is a place where communication happens among people with shared objectives. That means they all want something to happen or want to do something, or they're there for a reason. So my first example of a scene is a classroom. People are in a classroom. It's a place where communication happens, and the people there usually are there for a specific reason, and they share an objective while they're in that class. My second example of a scene is at a party. People go to parties for different reasons. They have objectives for going to parties, maybe to have fun, to meet people, to celebrate something. And there's communication that happens at parties, and it's going to be different than the communication that happens in a classroom, usually. And then my third example of a scene is at a grocery store. In this case, it's Costco. But it could be any grocery store. People go there for a reason, there's a shared objective, and people communicate there. So those are 3 different scenes, and we can see that at each of these places, communication happens, and people there have some kind of a shared objective. There's something that is bringing the people together. Now, scenes of writing are the same thing. They're just different places where writing or reading takes place. So it's called a scene of writing, but you might be there as a writer or you might be there as a reader, either one. But it's still a scene of writing where writing is happening or writing has taken place. So in a classroom, there are different examples of writing that happen. So a classroom is a scene of writing. You're going to be writing essays. You're going to be taking notes. Those are all different examples of writing that happen in the scene of a classroom. Now, all of the social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snap, whatever it is, they're all different places where writing or reading takes place. Now, you might go on social media and be someone who posts all the time. So you're one of the key people who's contributing to the writing in that scene. You might be someone who goes on social media and just kind of lurks and just kind of reads everything. So you're in that scene of writing, but you're there as a reader. That's where I wanted just to show that difference, that it's a scene of writing, but you might be there as a reader. And even though these apps are not physical locations, they are all very different scenes of writing. And then my final example of a scene of writing is a restaurant. So when I go to restaurants, I'm usually there reading what someone else has written. So I'll read the menu. So I'm there as a participant who's kind of just taking in what someone else has already written. Probably the only time I write is when I fill out the credit card, the amount of the tip that I'm going to give. So in that case, I'm an important writer in that communication because I'm sure that the server wants me to give a high tip. So that's part of the communication that happens there. Now, the place where the communication happens is the scene. So we're in the scene, that's the place. The communication that happens is called the situation. So in your textbook, situation refers to the interaction or the communication that happens at any particular scene. So the communication that happens in a classroom would be the situation in the classroom is usually formal, academic. That's the situation in a classroom. Now on social media, the situation could be a little bit different. So on Facebook, the situation might be different than the situation on Twitter because they're different scenes, they're different places. The type of interaction will be different. So the situation is the type of it, or it's the interaction that happens. And then finally at the restaurant, the interaction that happens. So I'm going to read the menu and I'm going to talk to the server. Server's going to maybe write down or just remember the order. All of that is part of the situation at a restaurant. That's part of the interaction or communication that's happening in that scene. Okay, so we have the scene as the place, situation is the interaction. Now this word rhetorical, we're going to talk about it in class, but I do want to bring it up here. A rhetorical situation is that type of interaction that happens within a scene, but I want you to think about how that rhetorical situation is influenced by the people who are there. It's influenced by the participants and the purposes of being there. So in a classroom, we have situations, types of communication that happen. Those are rhetorical situations. And in a classroom, in one classroom, the rhetorical situation might be very different, or the type of communication is very different than in another classroom. The rhetorical situation is influenced by the people who are there and their reason for being there. Okay, same thing for like social media, like Twitter. People Sometimes people on Twitter get into Twitter wars. They are discussing and debating and very passionate about whatever their beliefs are. And so that's one rhetorical situation on Twitter. On Instagram, the rhetorical situation is all about images and hashtags. So it's a different kind of rhetorical situation. It's really influenced by the people who are there and their reasons for being there. And then finally, at a restaurant, the people who are there and the reason for being there is really going to impact the rhetorical situation. So if I'm there and I'm starving, it's going to impact the way I communicate versus if I'm not really that hungry and I have a lot of time, then the rhetorical situation would be a little bit different. So rhetorical situation just is the type of communication that happens, and it's impacted by the participants and their reasons for being there. We're going to get to the last term for this video, and that is genre. We already know that a genre is a way of categorizing or organizing something. Now, in our textbook, a genre is the common way of communicating or responding in a particular scene. So let's think about the classroom scene. One genre in a classroom scene is essay writing. Another genre in a classroom scene is journal writing. Another genre in a classroom scene is discussion board post. Those are 3 different ways of communicating within a classroom, within my classroom. Those are all 3 genres that you'll be very familiar with by the end of the semester. The social media genres, there are certain hashtags that are trending or that are popular, and the hashtag is a genre. The way that people use social media differently, they have different common ways of posting things. Those are genres. Think of a meme and how memes have very common patterns. All of those could be, well, memes are a genre. So anything that has a common pattern or a common way of communicating, especially when there are common expectations in that type of writing, that's a genre. And then finally, in the restaurant, the genre of menus, that's one type of genre. So there are certain things that we expect when we see a restaurant menu. Anytime there's a common expectation, a common pattern of doing something or common features in something, then that's a genre. And different parts of that genre or different examples in that genre usually share those patterns, those key features that all of them have in common. So let's just think about it, that genres are patterns. They're common ways of responding and interacting, and they represent expectations. So there are expectations within each genre, within each category. So that's the end of this overview of Chapter 1. Thank you for getting through it. Hopefully you can understand the reading and come back again if you need more help. Chapter 1, understanding scenes of writing. You should have a good understanding of what a scene is. That's the place. A situation or a rhetorical situation is the type of interaction that happens there. And then the genre is a type of interaction that has specific expectations with it. So there are patterns and features and expectations within each genre. So it's scene is the big picture. Situation is the type of interaction, and there could be many different types. And then a genre is a type of communication or a type of category of something that has common expectations within it. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.